GDR. We have discussed, I think, the concept of haze fund. Na? Huh. Yes. Now see, mm, we discussed the concept of the haze fund. Uh, hmm. Now, related to haze fund, I discussed one thing, that the objective, the original idea behind the haze fund was good. The idea was to promote uh, or to support a particular businessman or investor during the time of his core business not doing good. That means during this time. So this, by understanding the concept of the P note, you will be in a better position to understand that what is basically the dynamics which is proving negative for this idea of the haze fund. And you might have heard this term very popularly, P notes. UPSC also asked these questions about P notes. They have asked the questions. And many a times, if you can recall, a committee was set up by Supreme Court of India to know the reasons for corruption in India. And one of the point highlighted by Supreme Court, that committee was Special Task Committee. And one of the reason was the P notes. Now, what is this P note? What happens that if you want to invest in the uh, Indian share market, right? You want to invest in the, you are an investor, you are an investor, and you want to invest in Indian share market. Now, you can invest in the Indian share market by approaching a financial institution, that is FII, financial institution investor. This FII is basically talking to this NSE or BSE, that is Stock Exchange of India, and this FII is purchasing or dealing with NSE, BSE in totality without disclosing the identity of this investor. For example, if this FII invested 100 crores of money in Indian share market, then this FII will not disclose to this NSE, BSE or SEBI that who is this Mr. A or Mr. B, whose amount is this 100 crores. Right? That means this relationship is opaque. And this FII issued a certificate to this A and B, and this certificate will be a piece of paper which will declare that Mr. A, your investment, or for example, I have purchased particular share X on your behalf. I have invested your 50 crores in the particular XYZ shares. So this instrument, which is issued by FII to A or Mr. B, is basically P note. And this FII will not disclose the identity of Mr. A or B to SEBI or NSE or BSE, right? So what is the problem with this opaqueness? What is the problem with this opaqueness, that this FII is not disclosing the identity of A and B to NSE or BSE or SEBI? Anyone? What is the issue? What do you think? The question is maybe transparency. My simple question is, yes, Pranati, you are right. My simple question is that I told you that this FII is not disclosing the source of money to the SEBI, right? Then I'm asking, what is the issue with not disclosing the money to SEBI? What can be the implication of that? Account transparency. Okay. So basically, the issue is that the system is not transparent, and you don't know the source of the money, from where does this money comes. So many a times, even the investigative agency reports that, yes, right, agency reports that many a times there is high probability that this money is coming from terrorist groups, and many a times it has also been observed that P notes are misused by anti national groups to destabilize the Indian economy. Right? How these P notes can unstable the share market of India? Anybody? How P notes can unstabilize the share market of India? Flight of capital. Very good. Suddenly, when they withdraw shares. Good. Now, see, normally what happens, what has been observed, that for example, if your market is bearish, right, or a particular FIIs or groups want to make your country share market unstable, then what they will do, they will invest in particular companies, right? When they will invest a huge amount of money in particular companies, that means the share market will increase, will be uh, bullish. And when they want to make your market destabilize, when they want to unstabilize the market, what they will do, they will withdraw the money, right? So you will find that the share market follows the withdrawal and infusion of FIIs, right? So if you see the market crash during the time of corona, first corona, mainly it was because of the withdrawal of the FIIs, right? And many a times in the past, it has been observed that whenever FIIs are withdrawing the money from the market, the Indian market crashes, right? So the issue is, this person who is investing, if he is anti-national, or he's from a country, or he's from a terrorist organization, so what they will do, they will invest the money in the share market, and as per their wish, they will withdraw that money from the market, so that your share market will be unstable. So that's how this P notes create problem in the share market, because you don't know the sources of the money, right? So then why government didn't put a blanket ban on these P notes? What is the reason? Anybody? What is the reason why, even despite the fact that the government, the Supreme Court has already stated that this is one of the reasons for corruption in India, then why government does not stop this? Anyone? Why government does not stop this P note concept? Why they are not sudden intervene may end in fiasco, sir? Intervene may end. It's a severe and bad economic times. Okay. See, whenever government has tried to have a check on the investment through P notes, the Indian market has crashed, literally crashed, right? So, and secondly, the government thinks that, or the SABI thinks that at least we are having certain investment from abroad. So what is the problem with that? Because if we are asking the disclosures under this P note, then might be a probability that investor might not be coming forward to invest in the country. So that is the only reason why P notes are not, P notes are still allowed, right? Now, P notes and haze funds. I, I told you especially about haze fund, that haze funds were basically, the objective was very good. But now you have to correlate this haze fund with the P note. That means your haze fund, the money is coming, this hedge fund money is coming through P notes in India, right? The money of hedge fund is being channelized into share market. Then how it is, what is the instrument which is channelizing this hedge fund? Through P notes. So this is how P notes are related to hedge fund. So the individual, the hedge fund who is, this is hedge fund is nothing but FII, because you are putting money with this FII and this FII is managing this as a hedge fund. So you, hedge fund is, I told you that hedge fund is acting as a fund of, for example, terrorist organization, because hedge fund is nothing, it's a pool of fund. So you don't know the owner of this money, right? You don't know the owner of this money. Your share market does not know the owner of the money. So it can be anyone. So this is the issue with the hedge fund and the P notes, right? That the opacity in the P note, right? So if you see the government fears that P notes are being used as instrument of money laundering, that means that concept of the shell company, the people are taking money out of the country and rerouting this money through P notes, right? They're easy to operate because the individual has nothing to do except putting the money with the hedge fund. Rather, they know that they are not supposed to disclose their identity to the SEBI. So there are no chances of their being caught, right? So this is all about P notes. Coming to this hedge fund in India, I told you that if you go the concept of the hedge fund originally, is there any fund limit on FI, sir, to curb this issue? No limit. No limit. Even to promote FII investment, the government has came up with a guideline that if you are investing more than 10% in a particular company, then it will be termed as FDI, right? It will be termed as FDI. Actually, it's all about the investment. Government simple idea is if they're getting the investment, and why to worry, right? They're, they are saying that we have nothing to lose, right? And by not allowing them to invest, they have to lose, because first they will, government is indirectly supporting it. You can say that, you can say that, but you cannot say that the government is promoting P notes, right? You can say that government is promoting FII, but don't say that, don't put in paper anywhere that government is promoting P notes, because it is a negative statement. Government is promoting FII, FDI is a positive statement, but if you say government is promoting P notes, it's a negative statement. So GDR is transparent and FII is opaque. GDR, that I have to uh, clarify. This is a good question. It's a good question that GDR is transparent and FII is opaque. Okay. I think so. I think so. Right. If they're issuing you GDR, then it's okay. And let me cross check it. That what is the relationship between the GDR concept and FII, right? Then coming to the, as I already discussed that this hedge fund as an idea is not good. So across the world, many sovereign states are having their hedge funds. So I told you hedge fund is a special idea, a special fund, which is to cater the special needs. So if talking with reference to India, we need a lot of funds for infrastructure, right? So infrastructure means, and the government wants special fund. Government wants special fund, and this special fund should be apart from the normal day-to-day funds, right? So government, I already told you, hedge fund is nothing but it's a special fund which is keep apart from the normal day-to-day things. So the government of India has come up with a concept of the haze fund, and they technically they are saying, the SEBI is saying this as the technicality is alternative investment fund, AIF, is basically this haze fund of India. And what the government has did, government is basically, if you can recall, or if you have gone through news in the past, you might have seen when the late Arun Jaitley was finance minister, then whenever he was going abroad, he was always talking to the countries or their or his counterparts that please invest in our sovereign fund. So most probably, if I can recall, Middle East, right, Singapore, right. So this haze fund is basically Indian haze fund is basically inviting investment from the businessmen as well as the sovereign countries. So AIFs were first open to domestic investors after SEBI issued the Alternative Investment Fund regulation in 2012. And these funds, the minimum investment is basically 1 crore. So 1 crore means that it is not open for the retail investor, because retail investors are not investing 1 crore sort of. That means it is for high net individual, right? That means the people who are rich. So if you talk about how many AIFs are there, these are 125 AIFs, right? Now there is Government of India Haze Fund, right? Whatever we talked Haze Fund in India, we talked about the recognition of the concept of the haze fund by SEBI. SEBI has acknowledged it in the form of AIF, and there are more than 100 AIFs. And this NIIF is the haze fund of the Government of India. Right? This is National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. It's a fund created by Government of India for enhancing infrastructure financing. It's a trust, and what it will do nothing except raising the debt, right? And this debt will do nothing except refinancing the companies like IRFC, Indian Rail Finance Corporation, NHB. And the idea is these finance companies, these are basically financing companies, infrastructure financing companies, and they will be having extra funds. And the beauty of this NIIF is this is basically raising money from countries, sovereign countries, right? That means this raising of the fund will be apart from the normal day-to-day fundings, normal day-to-day debts, which are for the carrying out the normal operations, right? So it's a special fund. That means this fund will be specially, it will be extra fund, right? That means it will finally promote the infrastructure in the country. So this is all about your NIIF. So I think question has either come on NIF, I don't know, but if the question has not come, then high probability that question will come on this. Then I told you one thing when I was discussing this repo rate and this reverse repo, when we were discussing all that drama sort of thing. So I told you one thing, that banks are either talking to the Reserve Bank of India to borrow the money at the repo rate, or second possibility is because talking to RBI, or a bank feels that it's better to talk to their counterpart, right? Or SBI will prefer to talk to other bank like IOB, Canara Bank, rather than talking to RBI on a day-to-day basis. So if, for example, SBI is having extra money today, it's a kind of interest rate at interest. Yes, I'm coming to that. Right. So for example, SBI is having extra money in their books. They are having extra money of 10 crores today. Sorry. if for example SBI is having 10 crores of rupees extra with it today, and Canara Bank is looking for 10 crores because it is having less money in the form of CRR, right? So what it will do, it will ask SBI to give money to it, right? So what will be the rate at which Erna Bank will be borrowing this money from SBI? So this rate is basically MIBOR, Mumbai Interbank Offered Rate. So this is calculated average by the NSE as a weighted average of lending rates of a group of banks on funds lent to first class borrowers, right? Since the launch, MIBOR rates have been used as a benchmark rate for the majority of money market deals made in India. It's simple, it's nothing. When banks are borrowing money from other banks on a day-to-day basis or for overnight facility, more appropriately overnight, then that rate, the benchmark rate is referred to as MIBOR. When you are trying to borrow money at international level, right? For example, the situation at the time of 1990s, or any international bank wants to borrow money from international market, then the rate is basically LIBOR, right? LIBOR. So MIBOR is a local Indian interbank interest rate which decides, or which is a benchmark for the money market deals or interbank interest rates, right? While LIBOR is in for the international interbank market. I think it's clear. Now coming back to masala bond. Whatever we have discussed, it's a kind of an international level. Yes. Whatever we have discussed in the international market, we discussed one thing, that you are borrowing the money in dollar terms, right? In dollar terms. That means if a company is borrowing the money, if the government is borrowing the money, then it is borrowing in the dollar terms, right? Dollar terms means, for example, you borrowed, a company X borrowed from US, or any investor from US gives or landed 100 crores dollars, right? X company of India borrowed 100 crore of dollars from US, right? Then this was in 2015. In 2020, when this X company will give back the money to US investor, then it will be 100 crore dollars plus interest in the form of dollars, right? Now, what is masala bond? What is unique with this masala bond? This question was asked in UPSC when masala bond was used for the first time. Masala bond says that, focus on it. What is the difference? This US investor or this X company, it will not be borrowing in dollar terms. It will not be borrowing in dollar terms. Rather, US investor will give money in the rupee terms. That is, this 100 crore dollar will not be 100 crore dollars. Rather, it will be 100 crore rupees, right? It will be 100 crore rupees rather than 100 crore dollars. And when in 2020 this X will return, then he will return 100 crore rupees plus interest in rupees. What is the difference between that? Previously what was happening, this X was borrowing in form of dollar and returning in form of dollar. And in case of masala bond, this X is borrowing in terms of rupee and giving back in terms of rupee. What is the difference? Currency is differences, 100 crore dollar converted rupee or direct. See, don't, we are just taking an example, 100 crore rupee simple. Not, we are not referring to that any exchange. It's just simply they took in rupee terms. Interest in dollar means more than Indian rupee. Okay. See, currency value may increase or decrease. Yes, yes, good. Srikanth, dealing in terms of national currency, very good. Now see, previously what was happening, you were dealing in dollar, right? That means bond issues in particular current country currency. That means you were not talking in in your currency. That means your currency was not internationalized. Why dollar is preferred by every country? Because everybody is looking for dollars. When you are saying that we will be raising the money only in rupee terms, that means first you are internationalizing the rupee, right? You are internationalizing the rupee. That means an investor, when for example any company, any Indian company which is having an international standard or it is having international presence, is raising the money, that means investor will be interested in investing in that company. And that company is saying that I am looking for the investment only in rupee terms. That means the demand of the rupee will increase in the international market first. Secondly, the rupee will get internationalized. Third, it will, when it will be returned, money will be returned back by the X company, then it will not create demand of dollar in the economy. That means it will not disturb the foreign exchange reserve in the country, right? The most important is it will not disturb the foreign exchange reserve in the economy, right? That means the beauty of it is this: initially what happens, that the company is taking the dollar, right, and it is converting into rupee. If some company in India is having the money, is want to do something, some activity in the country, what it will do, it will not directly use the dollar, rather it will convert the dollar into rupee. And then when it is going to give back money to the investor, then what it do, it will again convert the rupee into dollar, right? And secondly, it has been observed that dollar always appreciates, right? That means he has to pay back more money to him, more rupee to him. But now this is not the tension of the company, it is the intention of the investor, right? The volatility will not affect the interest of the X, because the company X has to give only in terms of rupee. Rather, it is the tension of the investor that it has to take care that when I will be getting back the money, then I will be getting only in terms of rupee. And I have to then convert that rupee into dollar if I have to use that currency in US. So company X or Indian companies are having more credibility through this masala bond. Is it clear or not? Right. So this is the concept of masala bond, and question has been asked. Go through this. The term is used to refer to rupee denominated. The peculiarity of this is rupee denominated borrowing, and this is for the first time that Indian companies has raised money from the foreign investor in rupee terms. Otherwise, what was happening, that the that companies of India were only borrowing or raising the money in dollar denominated borrowings, right? So this is a very specific thing. So this is all about your market, right? Any query till now? So that we will be moving ahead and we'll start with call money market. In general, will the other side of the country is willing to issue masala bonds? Other side of the country is willing to issue masala. See, masala bond is a specific name given by such bonds in the local currency denomination in India. Masala bond, it's a specific name of those bonds in India only. Might be some other country, for example, if company in US is raising the funds, then naturally they will raise in dollar denominated. But if it depends on the company and the status of the country, company as well as the country, because when for the first time masala bonds were released by Indian companies, I think NTPC raised money through masala bonds, ONGC raised through masala bonds. So that it was taken, it was very much appreciated. The investors invested, right? Invested in it. That means it shows that people or the investors were more interested in masala bonds, right? So that depends upon the credibility of the country, sovereignty of the country, as well as the credibility of the company. So it depends upon, again, if for example, if Pakistan's company is raising fund, then will anybody will be interested in investing, right? So it depends upon country to country. I mean, the other side may think we would face loss if India is using masala in terms of. See, that's what I am saying. That it is why an investor will invest in the in rupee denominated bonds. They are investing. That means they knew that the company and the country are doing good. If the investors are showing interest in the masala bonds, that means there is credibility of Indian company and India itself. That's what I'm saying. That when masala bonds were released in the market for raising the borrowings, it was taken by investors. Huge interest was shown, right? So this is all about your market. Then comes your money market, right? So when we were discussing this overall market, then I told you that money market. When I was classifying the financial markets, I classified it as capital market and money market. Capital and money market. I told you that capital market is nothing but for the long term. If you want to raise money for the long term, that means more than 1 year, then it was capital market. And if you want to raise money for the short term, that means whatever we were discussing in monetary policy, like we were saying overnight, right? So if the government, if the company, if any bank is raising money for overnight liquidity, right? And this period is basically for less than 1 year, less than 1 year. This is basically money market. So money market is a segment of the financial market in which financial instruments with high liquidity and very short-term maturities are traded. It is used by for borrowing and lending in short term from several days to just under a year. And these are used for short-term basis. Capital markets are used for long-term assets. Together, money and capital markets comprise a large portion of the financial market and are often used together to manage liquidity and risk for companies, governments, and individuals. Right now, whatever we have discussed, uh, this treasury bill, government security, right, and this GSAC, this is basically said to be bill market, and this is a sub market of money market. And there are two type of bills: treasury bills and commercial bills. This treasury bill is nothing but government securities, right? This is government securities. And Treasury bills are issued by the central government. Commercial bills are issued by the financial institutions. Treasury bill is a monetary policy instrument through which government raises funds for short period requirements. What is the name of the operation through which treasury bills are transacted in the monetary policy? Anyone? No. I'm asking what is the operation through which treasury bills are transacted in the economy? Yes, Srikant, good. Open market operations. Repo is the rate. Repo is the rate at which they are borrowing the money, right? I think you have confused the questions, right? So commercial banks invest their short period surpluses by buying these bills from government. Just clear. Now see, treasury bills. These are money market instruments. I have already explained for the short term. Issued by the government of India and presently issued in for 91 days, 182 days, and 364 days. That means treasury bills are fixed for 91, 182, and 364 days. These are zero coupon securities and pay no interest. Then what is the benefit of the investor? Basically, they are issued at a discount. Discount means, for example, if you are having a treasury bill of rupees 100, it is having the face value of 100, and if it is being issued at 98.20, right, and that means there will be discount of 1.80. What does it mean to say? That if the face value of a particular treasury bill is rupees 100, then what happens that today if you are purchasing the treasury bill and it is you are getting it at a, or the interest announced by the government of India is 6%, then today you will be in a position to purchase this treasury bill at 94 rupees, right? That means before investment you will be getting the benefit or the interest which is announced by the government of India. So it is said to be discount rate rather than interest rate. This is discount rate, yani you are getting the share or the treasury bill at a discounted rate, right? So this discount is basically the profit of the investor, which is given beforehand. Okay. The Reserve Bank of India conducts auctions usually every Wednesday to issue treasury bills. This is fixed. Now, when we have discussed in the past, I was always telling you that banks are taking money for 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. And till now, we discussed that treasury bills are for only 91, 182, and 364 days. And what about that 7 days, 14 days concept? That is basically CMB. That treasury bill is basically said to be the CMB, cash management bill. It is similar to the treasury bill, no difference between CMB and treasury bill, except that the maturity of the CMB is basically less than treasury bill, that is less than 91 days. So CMB is nothing but it is having the characteristic of the treasury bill, and it is having the maturities less than 91 days, right? And this is basically short-term instrument. Again, it's a short-term instrument, and it is basically to mismatch, to manage the mismatch of the government, right? And they are again discount, they are issued at a discount and redeemed at the face value at maturity. The tenure, notified amount, and the date of issue of the CMBs depend upon the temporary cash requirement of the government, right? So cash management bill and treasury bills are the instruments which are basically for short term, and short term here means 1 year. Now, when I was discussing LTRO, what is LTRO? Anybody? What is LTRO? Very good. So when we were discussing LTRO, I discussed one thing that the government or the Reserve Bank of India more specifically uh, asked the banks to take the loans, long-term loans at the repo rate interest rates, right? So long-term securities, what is the term used for the long-term securities? Because whatever we have discussed, T-bills, CMBs, they are basically for less than 1 year, right? The technical term for those securities which are for the long term is basically dated government securities. And these are long term securities and carry a fixed or floating coupon interest rate, which is paid on the face value payable at fixed time periods. The tenure of dated securities can be up to 30 years. Right. So dated government securities are nothing but long term securities having maturity period for more than 1 year, while treasury bill, that is T bill, and CMBs are for time period of less than 1 year. And out of T bills and CMBs are for maturities less than 91 days, while T bills are for more than 91 days, 91, 182, 364 days. Certificate of deposit. See, certificate of deposit. See, floating coupon is basically it is changing with time. It is changing with time means that it depends upon. Finally, see what happens that these are acting as a these treasury bills become market entity. For example, if any investor has taken, wait, I'm telling you, if an investor has taken at a discount rate of 6%, right? Now it is for the long term. Now what it will do, this investor will not keep this bill with it, right? So what it will do, it will put it into the, for example, an investor is in need of money at any point of time. So what it will do, it will again put it into the market, right? When it will put it into the market, then for example, if the investor thinks that the government that across the economy is going down, then there is only benefit in putting money into the government securities. Then what will happen? The demand of the government security will increase, right? So that means this 6% might be a possibility that it will be having 7%, right? And if there is no demand, if the Indian economy is going down, right, or the condition of the government is going down, fiscal deficit is increasing, and the instability is across the government, that means this demand of long-term security will go down in the market. That means this might be a possibility that the investor, there will be no demand. That means the return on that government security will be comparatively less, that is 5%. So this is floating coupon. That means these rates are changing upon the market dynamics, right? So certificate of deposit. Certificate of deposit is basically nothing but it's a fixed deposit, right? It's basically a fixed deposit because it's a technical name. For example, if a bank or any financial institution want to raise the money, right, then they put into the market that FDs are invited, fixed deposits are invited. Okay. And these fixed deposits, the technical name of these fixed deposit is nothing but certificate of deposit. So it's a negotiable money market instrument and issued in dematerialized form. What is this dematerialized form? I think I haven't discussed demat. Anybody? What is
మొన్న ముందు రోజు డెలివరీ అయింది ఫోన్ చేశాడు ఎక్సెల్ 6
what is this demat? Actually, I was supposed to tell you it in the market. Any idea what is demat? Anybody? See, Uh, when I was discussing that share market, I told you one thing, that the company was issuing the shares. Okay, I forgot also one thing where I was supposed to tell you that thing. Don't worry, I'll tell you right now. What happens? I told you that uh, for the time being, recall the share market, right? What was happening? I told you one thing, that how transaction was taking place in the share market. Actually, you are a seller. This is, we are referring to the secondary market. You are a seller X, right? And you want to sell the Zomato shares at 150 rupees, 100 shares at 150 rupees. You will put this bid, right, on NSE, for example, and it will be reflected on the computer. 100 share at the rate of 150. Mr. X. Mr. Y has put sale of 100 shares at the rate of 151. And Mr. Z has put bid of 100 shares at the rate of 152. Okay. This is how the sellers XYZ has put their bids on the platform. On the other hand, there are certain buyers. So buyers has also put a bid on NSE. Mr. A has put, he wants to purchase the shares at 100 shares at the rate of, for example, 150. Now, A does not know XYZ. Nobody knows anybody, right? Everybody is talking to computer, the platform which is being provided by Zerodha in yesterday's case. A is talking to Zerodha, right? Or your XYZ has put everything in Zerodha or ICICdirect.com. These are talking directly to NSE. That means finally this XYZ and A are directly talking to the NSE, right? Now, this computer at NSE, what it is doing, it is the algorithm is going on and it is always trying to match seller with the buyer. So the moment this it shows that the buyer is asking for 100 shares at the rate of 150 and this A is matching with this X. So suddenly what it will do, this computer will match it and execute this deal. So what will happen? The 100 shares of this X will be debited, shares debited, and amount is to be credited. Amount to be credited. Now, how it happens? And in case of A in the account of share will be credited and amount will be debited. Right? This will be the process which will take place. For example, this process was executed, this A put order on 25th of August. This mechanism takes place T plus 2 days. T plus 2 days. That means 25 is T plus 2. That means by 27, this process will take place. That means share of X will be debited and it will be credited into account of A by 27th, and account of X will be credited with amount, right? This is T plus 2. This is trade mechanism, right? Now, what is dematerialized? Dematerialized is that these shares, 100 or any amount, will be transferred electronically. It is nothing like a sort of paper. In the past, what was happening, that shares were issued on paper. That, for example, it will be a paper and it will be that, for example, this is ICICI share and this paper will be having a mention 100 shares. But now what happens, it is nothing like paper. This dematerialized means not in the material form, right? So shares markets, shares are transacted in the dematerialized form, in the share market. And you will find that a very popular term, demat account. The account you are opening with Zerodha, ICICIdirect.com, right? They will give you an account. This account is said to be demat account, that is dematerialized account, because this account is having all the things in the dematerialized form. So talking about this certificate of deposit, it is nothing but FD, fixed deposit. And again, it is in the form of dematerialized form or promissory. That means it will be a guarantee, right? So it can be issued by commercial banks, all India financial institutions that had been permitted by RBI to raise short-term resources, and minimum amount can be 1 lakh rupees. They can be issued to individuals, corporation, companies, right? Suppose X company places a large sum with Y for a period of 90 days through an instrument, then it is called certificate of deposit. Simply, it is nothing but fixed deposit. When any company is putting money in the form of fixed deposit with the financial institution or bank, then it is nothing but certificate of deposit technically. So for general understanding, CD is nothing but FD. Commercial paper. Commercial paper is basically in the, you might have seen that many financial institutions or companies are raising money, right, through markets. So how they raise the money, they put it into the paper that we are raising the money, and they are basically raising money at the rate of, it's normally higher than the market rates. For example, if FD interest rates are 7%, then these are raising money at the rate of 8%, 9%, right? Why is this difference? The difference is basically these companies are basically not having any backup, right? They are not having any collateral, right? For example, what about DHFL? This company was having 5-star rating, but suddenly what happened? The individuals who have invested in DHFL, their money goes uh, what at its lowest, right? The money was at their lowest. So commercial papers are nothing but when financial institutions are raising money from the market, or most appropriately companies, right? Companies. This is unsecured. Unsecured in the sense that there is no guarantee, right? There is no guarantee that how, whether the company who of which you have borrowed the commercial paper, or you have invested the money in the form of commercial paper, whether it will survive or not, right? So this is an issue. And then how you can rely, how you can rely, this is basically you can only rely on commercial paper based upon their ratings. So you will find that they are having certain CRISIL ratings. So normally what people did, whenever there is a 5-star CRISIL rating, people do invest in these companies which are having 5-star. Yes, you are right. CRA, irrespective of equity markets. Okay. CRA means CRISIL rating, na?
Credit rating agency.
Credit rating agency, right? CRA. Good. CRISIL is a that CRA, credit rating agency. So commercial paper, you are relying on these credit rating agencies, and most prominent you have heard many times CRISIL. Right? So the issue is that they are only giving the ratings to those companies, but there is no guarantee, right? Anytime you will find that, oh, there is a star, that it is subjected to market risk, right? Because there is no concept of the collateral. So this is commercial paper. Then comes commercial bill. This you have to understand, it's altogether a different story. For example, imagine a situation that there is a sailor and he's in Chennai, right? And this Chennai sailor has sold any item to a buyer in Jammu and Kashmir, and this is a machinery costing rupees 10 crores. And it is anticipated that it will take at least 15 to 20 days to reach to Jammu and Kashmir. Right now, the investment is of 10 crores. Then what will be the guarantee of getting this 10 crores in these 15 to 20 days? What is the guarantee whether this person who is staying in J&K will give the money to this gentleman in Chennai? Right. Then there is a concept of commercial bill. What this person will do, the person in Chennai will raise a bill of 100 crores or 10 crores, sorry. This bill, this J&K person will ask a bank, for example, he's having an account in State Bank of India. This person will ask State Bank of India to guarantee this bill, right? That means this Chennai person will present this bill to SBI, and SBI will say, I honor this bill and I am giving you the guarantee. This SBI is giving the guarantee to this 10 crore bill. That means if in case this person defaults, then SBI will be having the whole responsibility to pay this 10 crores. Right. So this bill, which is being raised by Chennai person and presented to SBI, and the guarantee of the SBI against this bill is referred to as commercial bill. Right. Now, in the meantime, what happens? For example, this person of Chennai is in need of the money after 5 days. Right. Then he's in need of the money. What he will do? Now, what he will do? He will put this money into the market. And by putting into the market, there might be certain investor, right? He will say, okay, I'll give you the money, right? I'll give you this 10 crore, but at a discount. That means I'll take some interest. Then this money took 5% of interest, right? Then what happened after 10 days, this person who took 5% interest on this bill, he was also in need of the money. Then what he will do, he will put again it into the market, and again somebody will take this bill and will ask that I'll take 6% interest. And that's why this commercial bill, which was raised by this Chennai person, becomes a market entity. And this is how it works. Right. So this is basically the idea of the commercial bill. Right. So in the money market, basically we saw that if we talk in government reference, it is treasury bill, CMB, and data security. And if we talk about the financial institutions, then it is basically this CDs, certificate of deposit, and it is commercial paper, and this is commercial bill, right? So this is uh, try to summarize them to better understand, otherwise it will create confusion, right? So briefly, this is only about money market. Any query?